All right, we are live. Okay, we're live on Facebook. Now we're going live on YouTube here. Perfect. All right. All right, Steve, are you ready?
I'm ready as I'll ever be.
I know it's been a hot day.
Oh, man, it has been terrible.
Well,
like 102 at the market today, and just, people look like they've just walking around with a tongue dragging the ground. It was miserable.
So,
well, we still did have a pretty good accumulation, though. We didn't do bad.
Yeah, there was a lot of people at the market. So
I also get a lot of repeat customers, coming back for more.
It's a really good, community feel to the market.
Oh, yeah.
So it was 100 degrees today. We'll try and keep this somewhat brief. So.
Yeah, well, that'd be nice, If not, we'll just call the ambulance or something.
Well, as long as we both don't pass.
There you go. Now we'll make it.
All right, so we're live on Facebook, we're live on YouTube.
Okay.
We asked our viewers to submit some questions, and I've also written down some questions ahead of time from some of our previous videos we put out there.
Okay.
So for those that don't know, we are here live with Steve, the Worm Man, here at the chocolate factory.
That's it. Yeah.
Save Our Soil here in Lakeland, Florida. Yeah. Steve, can you just introduce yourself real quick to the people?
Okay, well, my name is Steve Rowland, but they put the Worm Man in between all of that. But I've been doing this probably 40 years, I guess, 38 to 40 years, and just the last 2 or 3 years, and I decided to get real serious with it because I saw that what it was doing for our soil and stuff like that, and I thought, well, maybe we can make a difference, with our soil. If I get everybody else to kind of understand how this soil presentation works, it'd be better for everybody. You don't have to worry about going to bed after eating groceries at the supermarket when your eyes turn green at night. Things that this will make things a lot better. We try to change everything. We're not going to do it by ourselves, but if we can get everybody to do it, then we got a card lock on this thing. Really do.
Well, it's great what your company is doing, and we were here previously. We shot some content for the YouTube channel, so if you're watching this, you can head over to Mike's in the Garden on YouTube, and you can see the full interview, the walkthrough we did. We looked at your worm harvester, the worm castings, your worm beds, rotating your worms, the soil you guys have, the worm tea, worm farm. So you guys have a lot going on, which everything is available on the website at wesaveoursoil.com.
Absolutely.
So I guess let's get into some questions, Steve.
All right.
And if you're watching, make sure you give us a like and a thumbs up. And if you have any questions, drop them in the comment below. We'll get to them shortly. So Steve, we made a video of the worm farms. It's kind of blown up on Facebook. It's had over 1 million views.
Hey, that sounds great, man. That's what I want. 10 million is what I want.
We're working on it.
That'll get our soil situation going here.
And we had a lot of people comment about the worm farms.
Exactly.
Can you just explain briefly what the idea behind the worm farm is, what it does?
Well, it's the idea behind it is that a lot of people about worm castings. That's where it generates. You can have your own little bit of worm castings in the bottom of your worm farm, and the way you get it is how you feed the worms, take care of the worms, and if you do all that, you'll get a high quality worm castings, which is good for your plants. And instead of using chemicals and fertilizers and all that stuff, you just put this around your garden or whatever. You use it in the garden, you're going to get a higher yield. You're going to get better and bigger vegetables. Same thing with your flowers. I mean, it's just unbeatable the way it goes. And that's to get people started on what organic fertilizer will do, without having to go through chemicals and all of that. And it's just not worth it. Because right now, there are all these farmers and everything that are still using chemicals. I mean, they've been doing this for years and years and years. And it'll take years and years to try to get it halfway back decent to where you can get safe vegetables to eat. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a hard job. and it's got to start somewhere, and we just well start it and get started. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the worm farm, since you gifted one to me, thank you very much. You know, I'm pretty active out in my garden anyway, but it's certainly given me something to think about. And for those at home that want to purchase one of the worm farms, you sold out of them, so we don't even have one here to show
exactly.
off,
We've sold out, but we got some more coming. They should be here just any day. So, you know, maybe even next week.
I think it's a great way for people to raise worms. So, especially anyone that has kids, it's fun for kids to watch these little baby worms grow into bigger worms. Then you can take the worms and the castings, put them out in the garden, and you can watch the soil change, the plants grow.
Exactly. I just make that little circle going all the way around from when you start with the worms all the way around, but you get at the very end, you know.
Right.
I mean, it's just phenomenal how it does, you know. I mean, there's so many worms. I think it's like 9,000 different types of worms. There's only 4 or 5 that's going to do the job, you know. That's on a commercial scale. The other ones do, but they just don't they just don't multiply like ours does. And the ones we use are very a lot better.
So I'm jumping out of
that's okay.
You know, out of order here, but somebody had commented on the worm farm video that if you just throw an old rug down on the ground and then peel it up a month later, it's going to have a bunch of worms eating the rug. And then somebody commented and said, those are for worms for fishing.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So I mean, you wouldn't want worms to be eating a rug and then put those in your garden, right? Those aren't the type of worms.
Well, they might, the only way they're going to eat that rug if it's composted up, you know, because a worm's got a little bitty mouth anyways. It'll take him days to get a bite, you know what I'm saying? But after it starts rotting and decomposing, you know, shoot, they'll go on with it, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it contains a lot of carbon in it. But then again, when it starts eating the rug, who knows what chemicals is in the drugs, you know what I'm saying?
Sure there's plastics, microplastics.
Yes, we're right back to 0-1 again, you know. So as long as you do your own thing with these worms, keep everything organic, you know, keep everything safe, and it, you know, it's a done deal. You won't be scared to feed your children, you know.
Now, so, I've had my worm farm close to 60 days. When you gave me the worm farm, it was roughly around 30 days or so. So I've already cycled through once. I had little babies. I filled up tray number 2. So now I'm working on, I guess, more babies. And
round number 3.
So how long typically does it take in a worm farm setting, from the time you see little babies to the time that those larger worms are ready to be put out into the garden?
Okay. Well, your worms, for a worm to be an adult to where they start multiplying, that's at least about 3 months of age.
Okay.
You know, once they get 3 months, they're considered a juvenile. Then after that 3 months period, then they'll start the reproduction program. And then they just keep going. Then once they get to the adult stage, then they're laying eggs. An adult worm would probably lay 1, maybe 2 cocoons, you know, a month. But in that cocoon, there'll probably be anywhere from 2 to 5 or 10 babies inside the cocoon. So when the cocoon hatches, 5 or 10 or 12 little babies come on out and then just scatter out, and then that's every month, you know. So before it's over with, you take an adult worm, probably in 1 year, you produce over 1,000 worms per year.
Wow.
You know, so then if you got 700-800 worms or 1,000 worms, you got a lot of them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But you have to keep the bed right. You have to keep pH level right, and you have to keep the moisture right, and just all times of year the climate might change. Like here, you know, all these hot days, you might have to water them down a little bit more than you do in the winter time, spring of the time. You know, it's a constant job. You have to. I mean, when you get on a scale like this.
Sure.
But the little worm farms like we do and sell and everything, you know, it's not an everyday thing. But what they need to do is, you know, on these little small worm farms that we're selling, worm bins, when they get ready to put water in there, they need to put draw the water up like a day or two before.
Okay.
Because the water is going to have chlorine in it. So you need to let it set for about 24 hours. Always have it somewhere already preset. Then it don't take that much. Just kind of moisten it up a little bit, then put it back over there. But you need to let it set overnight before you put it in there, because the chlorophyll will kill it.
Sure. Now, I know you recommend freezing vegetables and then putting them in there.
Right.
That must provide some moisture for it.
Yeah, it does. Not only that, but it also deteriorates the vegetables a lot quicker and faster. And the softer it is, then the worms can eat it faster, So that's the ideal for that, because a worm's got a little bitty mouth. He's sitting there crunching on a piece of lettuce. It's got to get soft before they can chew on it,
Right.
So you just have to kind of watch it and watch the moisture in it, because a worm...
Probably too warm and too much moisture?
Yeah, and too much feed. You got to let them eat it all. Let them eat it all out.
Okay.
Before you give them any more, because the problem with that is that if you keep putting more food in there that they can eat, it will cause what they call a protein poisoning, and that's bad for them. Then next thing you know, you'll be looking at your worms. There'll be little bubbles all over them, and everything. That'll be burning them up and everything. So you can't feed them. Always make sure what you give them the day before, make sure they eat all of that before you give them any more.
Okay.
Then you'll know how much to give them every time.
So if I have too much food in there now, should I move some to a separate tray?
I would, yeah. Because after a while, you wind up with that protein poisoning, and you just have to be real careful with it. So you'll know how, just give them just a little bit, then get up the next day or whatever, look at it. If it's gone, give them some more. But if it's still there or half there, just leave them alone. Let them eat it first.
Okay.
Then you know how much you're going to eat every day. Then you're good to go. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I've been maybe every couple days, but fill up.
Yeah, you want to get away from that.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, this is why we're doing this. So we can
Right.
educate,
You get a better and healthier worm.
Okay.
If you overfeed them, just like us overfeed. Just you want a heart attack and kick in the bucket.
Yeah.
So you have to treat them, like a human being.
So my worm farm it's like the Heart Attack Cafe, right?
That's it. So you need to cut back on the groceries. Yes, sir.
All right, so some other questions that some people were asking is, what type of food scraps, and should they be putting any type of cardboard in there?
Well, in my beds, I use shredded cardboard.
Okay.
I use it all in there because that gives the worms some extra carbon that they need. Then there's they need nitrogen. Sometimes I put, it all depends on what I put in there. So I got some minerals that will take care of that part, so I don't have to put my vegetables in here. Because where I'm at, I did the vegetable thing, which is fine. But around here, I've got little critters around here that loves vegetables, and they raccoons and rats, so I have to, get away from that. But the best thing, like I just use, cow manure. And then I put a little bit of peat moss in there with it. Then that way I can keep a check on my pH level and my moisture, because I keep a pH meter, and I'll check it at least every other day on my pH. And the perfect is like a 7. And as long as you're between a 6 and an 8, you're pretty well safe. But if it drops one way or the other, you either got an alkaline problem or you got a acidic problem. So if you get way over toward the acidic, like an 8, or it gets worse than that, you put garden lime, just a little bit. You don't have to need much. Just sprinkle a little bit on top. Or if it's, if you're alkaline or whatever, just put you a little bit of peat moss in there. I mean, don't overdo it, because peat moss is acidic anyways, and that'll help raise it back up again to where it's supposed to be. You just have to keep check on it when you get to a larger scale. The little worm farms like that, you don't have to worry about it.
Okay.
No.
So we're here at Save Our Soil in Lakeland, Florida. We're talking worms, worm castings, worm farms, regenerate soil, and if you have questions, leave them down in the comments below. We'll get to them shortly. Let's see, some of the other questions that people were asking. Clearly, a lot of fishermen have watched this video on the worm farms.
Yeah.
They want to know if they can use these worm farms to produce worms to go fishing with.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You can get your little worm farm started and everything, and then the worm castings, you got to look around in there real good before you go dishing it out and this, that, and another. There's going to be they're going to look like little round BBs in there. That's going to be the cocoons. So don't do it by hands or fingers, because if you do that, they'll make them darn sterile. So take your little plastic spoon and just dip them out and put them in a new bed, okay? They're like the same kind of bed that they're in. Your peat moss or cardboard, just shred everything up, put them in there, and with 28 to 30 days they'll hatch. And just leave them in there, don't bother them, just keep it moist. Sprinkle a little bit of food, but not too much food. Then after a period of days, and they'll look like little bitty white mites or whatever, but it's little baby worms, and they'll be all in there.
Okay.
So you just put them in and leave them alone, and then when they get up to the size that you want, then you got your fishing worms, you know. You get them all the time.
So those trays are probably 4 or 5 inches deep.
Yeah, about somewhere around
so
there.
When you fill them up, you know, maybe like an inch or two layer at first, let them eat through that, and then you can continue adding on top of it? Or could you fill the whole tray up?
Well, there's 4 notches on the inside of that tray that the next tray sits on. You want to put, all right, on down here on the bottom, you want to keep it full all the way up to where the notches are, where the next tray fits it, like that right there. Because that way, when they eat all this down here, they're right there, and they'll see that foot, they'll smell the food upstairs, then they'll go through them little holes and go to the next one. But I mean, if it's down low, they'll crawl up the edges and get up there, but I would fill it up to all 4 corners where that little brace is that holds the next tray.
Okay.
When you get to right there, then, you know, they'll just keep going and going and going. But the best way to get them cocoons out, I just take the tray and dump it on a piece of cardboard or paper, kind of scatter it out a little bit, then pick out your little baby worms, or they're going to be little worms, or they're going to be them little cocoons that looks like a BB, you know, so you're good to go. They'll be sort of white when you first see them, but when they start turning a real dark red, then that's when they're fixing to hatch.
Okay.
And they'll hatch in 28 to 30 days, so
okay.
Good to go.
Some of the viewers wanted to know, the worm farm comes with 250 worms. Are you counting all 250 worms?
No. And in all reality, they're getting more than 250, because what I do, I'll get the first batch of worms, and I'll weigh them. I'll keep the same weight all the time. What 250 worms weigh, then I'll keep that same thing as we go along. Sometimes they get a lot more than 250. You know, if they're little small worms.
Sure.
Or if they're the bigger worms, you won't get as many. But they'll still get the same amount. One way, it's flexible both ways. So no, if I did that, I would never be able to take a day off, you know. It'd take forever to count that many. It's all done by weight.
Well, we didn't say there were no ridiculous questions you could ask.
No. I've heard a lot worse ones than that. Can you break them in half and still be alive? No. No?
So what, what are those nerves? They're just wiggling around and
Well,
they
somebody
die?
cut that arm off, we're going to die, ain't we?
Yeah,
so is that worm.
That's true.
Yeah.
Is that why it's called the worm? If you cut my arm off, I'd be wiggling on the ground?
That's it, but not for long. Absolutely.
We just did a quick video on worm tea. Can you explain worm tea very
quickly?
Yeah.
But our worm tea is a concentrate, and we aerate it for at least 48 hours. Sometimes we aerate it more than that, because we keep a look at it and keep a testing on it to make sure it's just right. And then we'll bottle it up. In the bottles, I showed that bottle earlier. Well, here's one right here. But, we put them in these bottles right here, and that's a concentrate. And what this will do, you can make 10 gallons of spray out of this. It's 3 ounces to 1 gallon of water. And then just put it in a little sprayer like that, regardless if you got succulents inside the house or something you want to spray outside, you can just soak it down real good with this stuff right here. And you get all the benefits, microorganisms, nutrients, and everything the plant's not getting, this will give it to them every time. So it pans out pretty good. I just can't make enough. All my people keep coming back and getting more and more. They love it.
Yeah, I've used some, and
the best part about it don't burn or nothing. You know, you can do it in the hot sun, it ain't gonna burn it.
Right.
And it just got a 2 to 3 month slow release program to it. You know, so it's just kind of hard to beat. You know, I really enjoy it.
So some people were asking, and I guess I can kind of talk from experience, the bottom tray that the worms have, when you send them out, is it just worms or there's already some soil in there too?
Well, it's the worms are in the food.
Okay.
Okay, they're separate from the worm bin, but they're in the worm bin and they're in a breathable bag.
Okay.
Okay, and it's already got cardboard and peat moss and everything else in there that the worms need.
Okay.
And when sometimes if they're in the mail or whatever, it takes 2 or 3 days to get there, they're going to look puny and they're going to look skinny and all that because of the shock, going from here to there,
Sure.
So it's going to take them a few days to get back to normal again. But I've had some people, they look and said the worms are skinny and, what's the deal? But that's the deal. They're all going to be like that. And just put a little bit of water in there, not wringing wet, but just a little bit, In 2 or 3 days, they'll come back and you're good to go. It's just eating machines, what they are.
Okay. So after a few days, you can start adding some vegetables and scraps in there?
Well, let them eat that first.
Right, okay.
You just got to, you can when they eat it, you can tell because it's going to be solid black, it's going to be real fine.
Okay.
And then, because it's probably going to take, I'd say 4 or 5 weeks for them to eat it.
Okay.
Then when it gets to that part right there, then, just put your tray in there, grind your little vegetables or whatever you're going to put in there, and just give them time to eat that. And then, just kind of watch them as they go. Just when it gets up to the top of them 4 notches that your tray sits on, let them get to right there and just set it down like that, and they'll come through the hose. It just keeps going higher and higher.
So really, when someone gets the worm farm in the mail, all they need to do is put the worms in with the
it's open.
cardboard and the peat moss.
It's already there.
And then they don't have to do anything for
Nothing.
4 or 5 weeks.
All you got to do is just give them a little sprinkle, give them some water.
Okay.
But you're going to get them in 2 or 3 days. But make a gallon of water out of the sink or whatever you're getting it, and set it back somewhere and let it sit. They say at least 24 hours.
Yeah.
And then it'd be safe to use that water. Because any chlorine or whatever will take them out.
Yeah, especially here in Florida. We fill up buckets with the hose water.
Yeah.
You can see the gas leaving.
People don't realize that they're out here, they're watering their plants or everything with that chemical and chlorine in it. That ain't too good,
Yeah. There's drinking water too.
After so many years. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, we got to save our soil. That's all there is to it.
That's right.
Until the day I kick the bucket, that's all I'm going to do. That's right. I got a lot more years to go.
A lot more years, yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
You were there by yourself today, set everything up, take everything down.
Well, I got to stay on top of it. I sit around at the house on my butt, and you ain't going to last long. Not only that, but I got a very influential sister, too. Yeah, she don't play that.
Yeah, she's great.
Bless her heart, I love her to death. And my brother-in-law, I like him, too.
So when it does produce the castings, and now I've got my bottom tray filled with the black castings, should any of those castings be moved up to the next level?
No.
Or just the worms themselves?
Just the worms do that on their own.
Way up. Okay.
But it wouldn't hurt if you used to just reach down and get you a little bit of the worm castings and sprinkle it on top of the new batches coming. That would give you worms more incentive because they'll smell the old worm castings.
Okay.
And that's your, what's the word I'm looking for? Ecology, their environment that they're in. Then they'll just automatically they're going anyways, but they'll go faster that way.
Right. Okay.
It'll help out. Yes, sir.
Okay.
That'll help out a great deal.
And you can get one of these worm farms on WeSaveOurSoil.com.
Yep.
As well as you can message Save Our Soil
Exactly.
And one of these guys will get back to you. Mm-hmm. They're $100 for the worm farms plus shipping.
Yeah, all that.
And it's funny, some people in the comments said, I can go buy all this stuff at the dollar store.
Well,
I said, I don't know any dollar store selling worms.
Yeah, well, I don't either.
I can go get the plastic trays.
Yeah, because it only takes 6 months to make a bag of that stuff right there.
Yeah.
You know, in rotation. But, you know, if they do, that's fine, you know, or they could go to the bait store and buy them cups of fishing worms, you know, and do their own. You know, it's whatever they want to do, you know.
Well,
as far as people putting them in these compost bins and everything, you know.
Yeah.
You got these compost bins and everything, and it got holes in it. You know, you can't put worms in there.
Right.
Because if you do, where are they going?
Right.
They're going out the holes, or the heat's going to kill them. You know what I'm saying? But they could take a bag of the worm castings and put it in there with their compost and everything, keep it wet. Then it'll compost a lot faster,
right.
And it's already got a good start. You know.
Yeah, when we first moved to Florida, we had one of the tumblers.
Right.
And the more we learned about composting, you need worms to break it down faster. And really, your compost should be on the ground so that the worms can come up out of the ground into the compost.
Exactly,
so,
yeah.
We use the compost GeoBins. They're, you know, you can make them any size you want.
Exactly,
and,
yeah.
They held up pretty good. And the worm farms have been awesome as well.
Right,
we enjoy going out there.
And
there's
another thing about this now. You can take. Well, we're just now getting to spraying yards with worm tea. We do yards, and you know, just maybe a golf course here and there, but we haven't got there yet.
Okay.
But we're giving everybody the opportunity. You know what I'm saying? I've done a few yards, 1 yard, anyways. And everybody got a high school around here in Lakeland. You want somebody like me or somebody to come to your school and give you a presentation, you know, we also do that. So, you know, we've done it before, and we're going to continue doing it. It's a free presentation, you know, for the children.
That's why we're making these videos. That's why we're here today, is educating.
Yeah, exactly, 100%.
Some people just don't understand how bad our soil is.
Exactly.
We've been led to believe that, you know, when you see these guys in hazmat suits spraying the food, and then they say it's safe to eat.
There's something wrong somewhere. You know, who are you going to believe?
We're disconnected from reality in a lot of ways.
Yeah, well, you know.
And so that's why, you know, it's important that we're educating about worms and soil and going to schools.
Exactly. It's taking hope, you know. I think it's starting to make a good start at it, you know.
Sure.
Especially these people around here that lives around these lakes and everything, you know. I've done a yard or two over there, and they all talk about, all of them, they'll ask me, you know, what's going on with, you know, why you want to do this with organic? I said, well, they come around here, they're spraying all these chemical yards and everything, it's running right straight out into the lake. Yeah. You know, and every time you eat a bass or something, or other, you're getting a mouthful of something, you know. And you know, it's not, you know, it'll change someday, but they like the idea of being organic anyway.
Yeah.
So it'll catch on. It may take a while, but it will catch on.
I have a friend of mine, we shot a documentary with him, and he said that lawns are the foundations of our enslavement as citizens.
Yeah.
Because we're conditioned to think, I need this lush green lawn. Yeah. I need the best lawn in the HOA. I need Massey or somebody to come spray all these chemicals. They put the sign down that says, don't have your dog or your children walk on this thing.
Yeah. Don't walk on my grass.
Yeah. So, yeah, like you said, I think people are realizing that.
I'll tell you, this world is going to have to change. You better start doing it pretty quick, you know, because it's all this junk you have to go to the market and pay for, knowing where it comes. You know, people think if you go to the flea market, to the grocery store, Publix or whatever, you think they think it's fresh, but it's not. It takes them 6 or 7 weeks to get to the market. You know, I don't know. It's just craziness, you know.
Yeah.
So hopefully it'll all change. Something. It won't be in my time, but it'll eventually change, I'm sure.
Let me check and see if we have any comments here. Anyone tuned in?
All right.
Jonathan, thank you for watching. Warren, Curtis, Carl. right. Thank you for tuning in and checking in with us today here at Save Our Soil. If you have any questions about worms, worm farms, worm castings, soil in general, so you guys have been great to me. You hooked me up with tea and worm castings and regenerate soil. The potting soil, I've had great success with a rambutan. You know what a rambutan is? Okay. Like a little lychee.
Yeah.
And my friend, I had heard of him, but I had never had one before.
Yeah.
So he sells produce at a farmer's market.
Right,
So
right.
he gave me the rambutans. All 4 of them I germinated. They're all growing in little
Really?
pots right now
Well, that's good.
with the potting soil.
There you go. There you go.
I've tried to do controlled experiments, but part of me is like, I don't come across rambutans often.
Right,
so
right.
Maybe I eat an avocado every day, and I try to germinate an avocado seed.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
those I haven't put in the potting soil, but my next thing is to put some in the potting soil,
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
can see what does better, the potting soil or the soil I've been using.
Right,
but
right.
those rambutans have taken off, and a mamey.
Yeah.
I planted a mamey, germinated one of those as well, and I have one of those growing in the potting soil too.
Okay,
so.
now, I'll tell you something else now, you know, like for germinating your seeds and everything, you can take your worm tea and take them seeds and put them in a cup of worm tea. Let them sit in there for 1 hour, then take them out and plant them. You get a better germination, you get a better set of numbers. It'll germinate them
Okay.
for 1 hour, and then take them out and plant them.
So I usually, any seeds that I plant, I usually put them in water for 24 hours.
Right.
So maybe
big
I'll try
difference.
that with the worm tea.
I would, absolutely. I'd do it all the time. You know, I'm not even a gardener, but, you know, you just let them soak for 1 hour and 1 hour only, and just take them out and put them right in your ground or in your little seed doers, you know. It'll germinate them. I'd say 9 out of 10 anyway.
Okay. Interesting. The regenerate soil. Can you just talk about that briefly and why that's beneficial if someone has poor soil?
Well, that's why we come up. Well, my sister came up with it. It's like a antibiotic for your bad soil. So what it does, it's like oh gosh, it's 80% worm castings and 20% of minerals and nutrients that I put in there with it. And I mix it together, and then apply it to the soil or whatever. You can mix it in with the other soil or whatever pot soil you're using at a 70 to 30 ratio, and man, it just takes, you know, helps repair the bad soil. It throws in a lot more nutrients, and the minerals goes to work. Then it starts throwing in your carbon, your nutrients, and everything that you need to get re-established to go back up again. You know, it takes 2 or 3 months, but after that, though, it will highly improve it. A lot of people's got a lot of sand there with it, but
Yeah.
you know, it'll do that too. You know.
I did take a bag and mix it in with some of my pots that had plants that died or never germinated.
Right.
And that is more of like a compost, mulch heavy soil. But it did have some sand, so I just, you know, poured them all out. I took the bag of regenerate, poured the bag on, kind of mixed it all together. But I do have another bag of regenerate, so I'm going to have to do some controlled experiments. Because,
Okay.
like I said, those rambutans in the potting soil, I'm convinced it's partially because of the soil.
Yeah.
And so I want to try some with the avocado seeds.
Yeah. Well, it might work. That'd be great. So anyway.
I think that's it for questions, Steve.
Well, okay. Well, I'm at the market. Anytime anybody wants to ask me a question, just drop in. I'll answer it to the best of my knowledge. I know what works for me, and if I tell them it works for me, I know it's going to work. You know, so through all these years and everything, so I've dealt with a lot of it.
Yeah, I think that's something that, especially those that comment on social media, oh, this works for me, this, whatever works for you.
That's exactly
You know,
right.
The healthiest Inuit in Alaska probably has a much different diet from the healthiest.
Yeah, you got that right.
You know, marathon runner from Ghana.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
I'm sure they have a different diet.
Oh yeah.
But they're both extremely healthy. So,
yeah.
I know you've baited with watermelons.
Oh yeah, that's the easy way to do it.
Right. So,
and I'm not beating my worms half to death.
Yeah, and how long have you been doing this? 40 years?
Yeah, give or take 2 or 3.
Give or take, yeah. So that works for you. Maybe somebody else has a different technique, but 40 years of experience, it's hard to argue with that. So.
Man, I can remember my first time. I really wanted to be a worm farmer. Okay, and I told my little wife, bless her heart, I'm going to start a worm business. She said, okay. I said, no, we can make a lot of money doing this. She said, okay. So I went and built me some boxes, 2 foot by 2 foot boxes, 2x4s and plywood, you know. I made 8 or 10 of them, and I put them in the back room back there. And a buddy of mine, well, he's gone now, but he's the one, Larry Martin, that's got that Verma Technology Unlimited. And I got bought worms from him. Anyway, I bought 1,000 European crawlers. So I went ahead and built my boxes, you know, and I set them in there. I was ready to go. And I was making mistakes right then, but I didn't know it. So when the worms got there, you know, then I made my bed and then I put them in there, you know, and everything. Everything was good and dandy. We went to bed that night. And the wife, she usually gets up, you know, first thing in the kitchen, you know, to make coffee and everything. I was sitting there, boy, sleeping. I was enjoying it. All of a sudden, she went to hollering and screaming, carrying. I didn't know. I thought somebody broke in the house, you know. I went in there. I said, what in the world? Well, look on the wall. The crawlers were just climbing all up the wall. They had came out of the bedroom, on top of the carpet, under the carpet, up the ceilings, and working their way out, going out the door. I said, oh, man, what did I do wrong? But anyways, I figured out what it was, and I ain't done it no more. Number one, you don't use pre-treated wood to put the worms in, because they don't like that.
Okay.
Then next thing you're going to do, at nighttime when you go to bed, you leave them a light on. Because if you don't leave that light on, they're going to leave the bed. That's why they call them crawlers.
Right, okay.
So I lost a lot of money that time, but after that I figured it out. I went to a bathtub. Then I got bigger and bigger and bigger, you know. That was about it, though. It was fun learning, I guess. Expensive, but I learned.
So a lot of gardening is trial and error.
Oh, absolutely, brother. Absolutely, that's all it is.
You live, you learn, and hopefully you don't make that same mistake again, and it doesn't sound like you did. So.
That's good, Bob. I really enjoyed the interview.
Yeah, well, we'd like to thank everybody that was tuned in watching.
Yeah.
And you can find Steve and Save Our Soil every Saturday except for the month of August.
Right.
Downtown at the Lakeland Farmers Market. And stop by and say hi to Steve, ask him any worm questions, and hopefully he'll have the answer.
All right, sounds great, man. I sure appreciate the interview.
Anytime.
All right, man. I'll see you all there. Good night. Good day. Something.